The CEO begged me to stay. I thought helping him would be simple: find proof, expose the truth, walk away. But nothing about Ethan Blake was ever simple. Not his business, not his marriage, and definitely not what we had. The investigation. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and I worked in secret. Late-night calls, encrypted emails, meeting in quiet corners of empty cafes. He trusted no one else, and that terrified me. I saw a side of him no one at Blake Dynamics would believe existed. A man terrified of losing everything he built. He wasn't the Ice King anymore. He was human, fragile. Every time we met, the walls between us grew thinner, until one night, they disappeared completely. We were at his penthouse, papers spread across the marble counter. He was pacing, hands in his hair. If the board finds out, they'll destroy me. Then we make sure they don't, I said softly. He stopped, looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time again. Maya, he whispered, and before I could think, he kissed me. It wasn't planned. It wasn't wise. But it was real. Every ounce of pain, regret, and longing poured out in that moment. And when it was over, he pressed his forehead to mine and said, "You should have never left." I wanted to tell him I regretted nothing, but my heart already knew this story couldn't end well. The betrayal. 2 days later, the storm hit. I arrived at work and found security guards waiting. "Ms. Hart, you'll need to come with us." Confused, I followed them, straight into the HR conference room. And there she was. Vanessa Blake. Perfect, poised, and venomous. Ethan sat at the table too, jaw tight, hands clasped. Vanessa slid a folder across the desk. "You've been leaking confidential company information, Ms. Hart, to Novatech." "What?" I gasped. "That's not true." "Save it," she said coldly. "We have emails, documents, proof." I looked at Ethan, pleading silently. "You know I didn't." But he didn't speak, didn't move, didn't even look at me. And that silence, that was the betrayal that broke me. Security escorted me out of the building while employees stared. Just like that, everything I'd rebuilt was gone. The fall. For weeks, I heard nothing. My name was dragged through corporate gossip sites. Ethan Blake's mistress leaks company data to competitor. My career was finished. Until one evening, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Ethan stood there, drenched, shaking, and looking nothing like the man I once knew. "Maya," he breathed. "Please, I need to talk." I tried to close the door, but he stopped it with his hand. "She set you up," he said desperately. "Vanessa. She used my laptop, sent fake emails under your name. She wanted to destroy you and me." I stared at him. "And you let her?" Tears filled his eyes. "I had no choice. She threatened to go public with the money transfers. I couldn't lose the company." "You already lost me," I whispered. He stepped closer, voice cracking. "I'll fix it, Maya. I'll clear your name. Just please don't walk away." The confession. He wasn't lying. A week later, the news broke. Vanessa Blake indicted for corporate fraud and embezzlement. Ethan had gone to the authorities, turned in every document we'd gathered, even though it meant sacrificing his company's reputation. He called me that night. "I did it," he said quietly. "It's over." "It's not," I replied. "You lost everything." "So did you," he said. "Because of me." There was silence. Then he said, "Maya, come to the office. Please." The empty office. When I arrived, the building was dark. Ethan stood by the window, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. The office, once alive with power, was now empty. He turned slowly when he heard me. "They're forcing me out," he said. "The board's voting tomorrow. I'm done." I crossed my arms. "Maybe that's justice." He nodded, almost smiling. "Maybe." Then he stepped closer. "But there's something I need to say before it's too late." I didn't move, didn't breathe. He looked right into my eyes. "I've spent years chasing success, control, perfection, but none of it meant anything after you left. You were the only thing real in my life." My chest tightened. "Ethan, don't." "I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said, voice trembling. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. He reached out, took my hand gently. Please stay. Don't walk away again. Not like this. The moment. For a second, time stopped. The city outside faded, and all I saw was the man behind the mask, broken, honest, and human. The man who had ruined me and somehow still loved me. I can't stay, I whispered. Not this time. He swallowed hard, eyes glistening. Then just stay until morning. That was the last night we ever spent together. No lies. No promises. Just silence and the sound of rain against the glass. When I left at dawn, he was still asleep, the Ice King finally at peace. I placed a note on his desk. Thank you for teaching me what love shouldn't cost. And I walked away. The aftermath. Months passed. Vanessa was sentenced. Ethan sold his shares, left the company, disappeared from New York. I moved to California, started a small consulting firm, no big office, no luxury, just freedom. And peace. One day, a letter arrived, no return address. Inside, a simple note in Ethan's handwriting. You once told me to find what's real. I'm trying. I hope you found yours. E. No signature. No explanation. But for the first time, I smiled reading his name. Because I had found my real. It wasn't him. It was me. Final scene. I sat by the ocean that evening, waves crashing against the shore, the sunset painting everything gold. I thought about the girl who once believed success meant climbing ladders, pleasing bosses, earning approval. Now I knew better. Real success was walking away when staying would destroy you. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered to the wind. Goodbye, Ethan Blake. He had begged me to stay. But leaving was the only way I ever truly won. The CEO begged me to stay. My name is Maya Hart, and until last winter, I thought dreams were built in offices. Long hours, endless coffee, and quiet ambition. But that was before I learned that sometimes success costs more than you ever imagined. And love, the kind you're not supposed to feel, can ruin everything. The beginning. It all started when I got hired as the executive assistant to Ethan Blake, CEO of Blake Dynamics, a powerful tech company in New York. He was brilliant, ruthless, and everything the business world feared and admired. At 38, he had built an empire and a reputation. They called him the Ice King behind his back. I was 26, ambitious, and just grateful to have landed the job. My first day, I remember walking into his glass office, heart pounding, clutching my folder. He didn't even look up from his laptop when he said, "You're late." I thought the meeting was at 9. It was. It's 9:02. That was my introduction to Ethan Blake, precise, cold, and terrifyingly controlled. But over time, I began to see something others didn't. The way he lingered by the window after meetings, staring at nothing. The quiet sighs when he thought no one was listening. There was loneliness beneath that perfection. A shadow. And I don't know when exactly I crossed the line, when professionalism turned into something else. Maybe it was the night we both stayed late to finish a presentation. Maybe it was the way he said my name, softly, like it meant something. All I know is, by the time I realized it, it was already too late. The night it changed. It was a Thursday in November. Rain lashed against the windows. The office nearly empty. I was printing financial reports when Ethan appeared at my desk. "You haven't eaten," he said. His tone was softer than usual. "I'm fine," I smiled. "You should go. It's late." He hesitated, then said, "Come with me." I froze. "Excuse me?" "Dinner. There's a place around the corner." For a man like Ethan, who lived by rules and boundaries, it felt wrong. Dangerous. But I said yes. That dinner changed everything. He was charming that night, human. He told me about his mother's illness, about the pressure of being perfect in a world that never forgives mistakes. And when we walked out of the restaurant, rain still falling softly, he stopped under the awning and looked at me like he'd never seen anyone before. "I shouldn't do this," he whispered. And then he kissed me. It wasn't the kind of kiss that asks for permission. It was the kind that destroys walls you've spent years building. I knew it was wrong. He was my boss. But my heart didn't care. The secret. We tried to hide it. Days of pretending, nights of fire and guilt. He'd send me messages during meetings. Cancel my 6 p.m. That was our code. It meant we'd meet in his penthouse. Every time I told myself it would be the last. Every time I fell deeper. Until one morning I arrived at the office and everything changed. A new woman stood at reception, tall, sharp, and beautiful. She smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Vanessa Blake." His wife. The lie. My world crashed. He'd never told me he was married. Not once. I stood there, frozen, as she walked past me into his office like she owned the place, because she did. The rest of that day was a blur. Ethan avoided me completely. When I finally confronted him that night, he said the words I'll never forget. "It's complicated." I laughed bitterly. "You're married, Ethan. That's not complicated. That's a lie." He tried to explain that he and Vanessa were separated, that it was only on paper. But lies are lies, no matter how you dress them. I walked out. Quit the next morning. No goodbye, no closure. But fate, it's cruel. It doesn't end stories when you want it to. The return. 3 months later, I got a job offer from a rival company, Novatech, Blake Dynamics' biggest competitor. It was my chance to move on, to build something for myself. I took it. The first day at Novatech, I opened my new office window and looked out, straight across to Blake Dynamics Tower. And there he was, Ethan Blake, standing in his office, staring right back at me. The call. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, and his voice filled the silence. "Maya." I didn't speak. "I heard about your new job," he said quietly. "Congratulations." "Thank you," I replied flatly. "I miss you." I closed my eyes. "You don't get to say that." But he didn't stop. "Come back, Maya. The board wants you. I want you." His voice cracked, and for the first time, the Ice King sounded broken. "Please. I can't do this without you." I hung up, but my heart didn't. The truth about Vanessa. Weeks passed. I avoided him, buried myself in work. Until one day, a file landed on my desk, a leaked report from Blake Dynamics' internal audit. Hidden transactions, offshore accounts, corporate bribes. And the name that appeared most often? Vanessa Blake. The CEO's wife was secretly moving company funds under her husband's name. If it went public, it would destroy him. Suddenly, I understood everything. The pressure, the secrecy, his distance. He wasn't hiding from me. He was protecting himself, and maybe even me. I should have stayed out of it. But my heart, that foolish, loyal heart, couldn't let him fall alone. So I made a decision that would change everything. The meeting. I called him. "We need to talk." He sounded relieved. "When?" "Now." We met in a quiet cafe far from the city. He looked different, thinner, darker under the eyes. "You know, don't you?" he said quietly. "I do," I replied. "Vanessa's embezzling your money." He nodded. "And if this comes out, I lose everything." I took a breath. "Then let's fix it." He stared at me, searching my face. "Why are you helping me, Maya? After everything?" "Because I still care," I whispered. He reached across the table and took my hand. "I don't deserve that." "You don't," I said. "But I'm doing it anyway." End of part 1. The line between love and loyalty. That night, as I walked home through the city lights, I realized something terrifying. I was falling again for a man who could destroy me. And this time, I wouldn't just lose my job. I could lose everything.